It's hard to believe that the Nissan Sentra name has been in America here for nearly 40 years. And with sales approaching 200,000 every year, this is a relatively important vehicle for the Nissan brand, which is why I'm out here in Malibu, California, driving the all-new 8th generation 2020 Sentra. Nissan says it's riding on an all-new platform, it's got a new powertrain on the hood, and it's got a new design that's trying to shed the stodgy rental car image of the previous generation. So the big question I want to answer, if you guys are in the market for a new entry-level compact car, should the 2020 Sentra make it to your shortlist? That's what we're here to find out. So as you can see, looking at the design of the all-new 2020 Sentra, Nissan went with a completely different route versus the previous generation, which in itself wasn't exactly an ugly car. It just was a rather frumpy, rather narrow and tall-looking car. For this all-new version, you can see it shares a lot of DNA with the Altima, with the Maxima, and I think Nissan's done a good job with making this thing look a lot more distinctive. Their V-Motion grille, as you can see, is at the forefront. On this SR trim, it's got some black chrome accents, and you've got these very thin-shaped full LED headlights, which includes LED daytime running lights, LED turn signals, and LED low and high beams. Now, it should be noted that these LED headlights are optional. You can get them on the SV trim as part of a premium package, or they're standard on the SR. The base S will have halogen headlights, and then the SR is the only trim to get LED fog lights. The SV trim does not offer that. And overall, in this monarch orange color with the black roof, it's definitely good looking. This should be noted, a $600 option if you guys want the two-tone color combination. Nissan says with this car riding on a new platform, it's about 2 inches wider and 2 inches lower overall. So you can really see the difference in the stance of this car. It makes the Sentra look a lot more sportier, which the old version definitely didn't have that look to it. Now, as you can see here, the wheel options, these are actually a really attractive set of wheels. They're an 18-inch wheel wrapped in two 15/45 width tires. These are the same size wheels as you used to get on the Nissan Nismo, the Sentra Nismo. So these 18-inch wheels are a much improved size. The base Sentra will come with a 16-inch Steely with hubcaps, while the SV has a 17-inch wheel option. Now, as you can see here, with this two-tone color combination, I really like what Nissan has done here with this monarch orange. And the one thing about the Sentra, its overall size hasn't really changed too much. Overall, its wheelbase has been stretched by 0.6 inches at 106.8 inches long. And at 182.8 inches long, this is about the same size as the Honda Civic, the Toyota Corolla. Really, that Nissan focused on making this thing lower and wider versus the previous generation. Now, the rear, the big news this year is the inclusion of an independent rear suspension. It's a multi-link design. The Sentra has never really had one for years, and it's interesting because cars like the Mazda 3, which have typically been the benchmark, have had a full independent suspension, have gone to a twist beam, whereas Nissan is giving it a full multi-link setup at the back. Now, at the rear of the vehicle, you can see a lot of styling cues from the Altima. The one area where I think Nissan could have improved is the taillight design. These are just an all incandescent design for the taillights. The only LED is actually the third brake light, whereas some competitors like the Corolla give you a full LED taillight design. It's a little disappointing to see Nissan including just an incandescent. You can see the SR has its own unique rear bumper. You have a chrome exhaust tip over there with a single outlet. So overall, I like the SR's sporty design. Keep in mind the SR trim is unique to the US model. It includes this little rear lip spoiler, which is also nice. Now, looking at the trunk capacity of the new Sentra, this is where the old one typically was one of the largest in the segment. This new one got a little bit smaller this year. It's rated at 14.3 cubic feet of space, about a cubic foot less, but still very competitive. You can see there are hinges that crush your cargo. The seats still fold down 60/40. And then if you look underneath the floor, Nissan does give you a temporary spare tire, so you don't have to deal with a fix-a-flat kit. All right, so the exterior of the Sentra definitely looks very sleek and modern now, but let's look at the interior of this vehicle. The first thing, of course, I want to show you guys the Nissan key fob. It is still here, this old key, which has been around for nearly 2 decades. Now, every Sentra will come with push-button start. If you guys go for the SV trim, it'll include their intelligent access key. It does include remote start, so if you just push the lock button here, push and hold this button right here, and it's not starting.
We swear it worked once.
As you can see, it starts right up for you. It doesn't always work perfectly. You've got to get the sequence right. If you want to shut off the engine, just touch the button again. That shuts off the engine for you. Now, as you approach the door handle, you can see my tester with this two-tone color combination definitely looks good. There's a button here on the outside of the handle. If you touch that button, that locks the door for you. If you want to unlock it, you have to touch the button again, and that will unlock the door for you. Now, looking at the interior of this SR trim, you can see this particular one here has the optional premium package for $2,100. It includes the Primatex leatherette interior interior with the contrast orange stitching. It's definitely very nice. This black interior color option is the only option if you guys want the sporty SR trim. You can also get black cloth. If you guys want a different color, the SV offers a premium package which includes quilted leather, which is kind of the same stuff you find in the Maxima. It's definitely a huge improvement if you guys are looking for the luxury feel. These seats are a 6-way power adjustment with a 2-person lumbar support. They're very comfortable. These are the Nissan Zero Gravity NASA-inspired memory foam seats. They're very soft seats, which most vehicles in the segment have hard seats. No memory seats. Unfortunately, Nissan doesn't offer that. These are just heated seats. If you guys are looking for cooled seats, you're gonna have to look elsewhere in the competition. Now, getting inside this vehicle, you can see the step-in height is definitely very typical of a sedan. You do feel that this car feels a little bit lower than the previous generation. Then when you want to shut the door, it sounds relatively solid. The Civic that I last drove over the weekend sounded a little bit more solid when you close the door. Now, if you want to start the engine up, you guys know how to start up a car like this. You just put your foot on the brake, push this button here to start up the engine. Now you can see the gauges are basically the same gauges you find in the Altima. These are, it has a 7-inch helper screen. The gauges do a nice sweep. You've got this nice 8-inch touchscreen Nissan Connect infotainment system, which again, this 8-inch screen is larger than what you find in the Civic, the same size as the Corolla. I love the interior design of this vehicle. I was actually on this program with Alex Dykes from Alex on Autos, and he mentioned this looks like the Kia Stinger. He's absolutely right with the way the screen here is floating. You've got these 3 circular vents. Nissan likes to say that the interior is going to be GTR inspired. I don't really see that here. I see Stinger inspired, which is not a bad thing. Now, there is some stitching here on the dashboard. It's kind of like a faux stitching with the contrast. It looks very nice. It's a soft touch injection molded plastic. You have hard touch plastic down here, and then you have some silver accents here for the vents, and then some shiny black plastic. The door panel here is also soft touch, which is nice. You have more of that leatherette material here on the seats. Only the driver's window is 1 touch up and down. So again, some competitors give you the front window as well. Over here, you can see there's your trunk release. There's an eco button. You can adjust your dimmer control over there. The actual window switches and the turn signal stalks, they're very much the Nissan stuff. The steering wheel is that D-cut Nissan steering wheel you find in everything from like the Rogue and the Altima. There's no paddles on the wheel, which surprised me considering this is the SR trim. You can see there are some empty buttons here, which is interesting because this one has the adaptive cruise control option, which you can see there's the adjustment there. I wonder what these buttons here are for, the empty buttons, which is a little bit interesting. You can adjust this little screen here, the helper screen, to show you all your different usual sources, safety information. You can go into your vehicle settings, your home screen, your fuel economy information. So very nice overall layout over here. Now this over here, you can see the screen is very bright. It's very easy to use. It's right here within easy reach. The Apple CarPlay and Android Auto works fantastic. And then you also have, you know, the Nissan system. If you go back to the menu system, this is the Nissan Connect head unit. It is relatively nice. This works very well. I like all the preset buttons here at the bottom. This one here also has a satellite radio, AM and FM and Bluetooth and all that other stuff. There is no factory GPS. That's the one thing I'm noticing that's missing. I don't believe Nissan offers embedded GPS on the Sentra, which, you know, for most people, that's not really a problem. Just go here to the Apple CarPlay and use that. However, Apple CarPlay does not work if you guys have no cell phone signal. So I think Nissan should consider offering an actual embedded GPS. Maybe that'll just be a dealer accessory. It seems like it's a pretty easy add-on. When you put the vehicle, with this one here, you also have a full 360 camera with moving object detection. You can see it's seeing Alex at the back there getting some B-roll footage. This is the only trim to get the full 360 camera. The graphics don't look all that fantastic, but the fact that it does offer a 360 camera, again, with, you know, your different side views to prevent you from curbing your wheels, is a fairly nice addition. So, you know, keep that in mind. This is still a relatively affordable car, but it does have some good tech in it. Now over here, you can see it's got dual zone climate control. Your heated steering wheel button is down here. It's just 1 level, 2 level heated seats. I like the controls. They feel pretty high quality. They also look good. You have 2 USBs, a regular USB and a USB-C and aux port. You can put your phone over here. No wireless phone charging though. That is an option that some competitors have definitely added. This controls the CVT transmission for this vehicle. It's got P, R, N, D, and L. There's a sport mode. If you push this button here, it puts it into like a S mode, or there's also an eco mode. This is a nice padded armrest over here that offers a good amount of storage right there. And then above me, you can see just a standard sunroof. This is included with the premium package on either the SV or SR trim. The lighting in here, surprisingly, is not LED. For a brand new car, I'm surprised it's not LED. Nice sunglass holder over there. And then over here on the glove compartment, you can see it's a pretty average size. It's damped, but not lined with felt. So overall, the cabin of the Sentra will remind you a lot of the Kia Stinger. It's a very nice environment to spend time in. It's very roomy as well, good visibility, and it's got really great tech features, much better infotainment system versus what you get in the new Civic. Now, the previous generation Sentra has always had a relatively big back seat compared to the competition. And I'm happy to report that this new version also equally has a big back seat. This is actually bigger than what you get in the new Corolla, and it's a little bit more space than what you're gonna get in the Versa. Legroom actually stays the same this year. Nissan says you have around 37.5 inches of legroom, so pretty much the same as last year. In terms of the actual space, at 5'7", I have plenty of headroom, but keep in mind if you guys are over 6 feet, your hair might be touching the ceiling of the car. The floor here is not completely flat, but if you do need to put 3 people across, you should be able to do so with the wider body of this new generation. I am noticing here no rear seat air vents, but you get a lonely USB port over here. There's no heated rear seats. And then there is also an armrest here that folds down and gives you 2 cup holders. So if you guys are looking for a much more usable back seat, one of the most in this segment, the 2020 Sentra is still one of those vehicles for you. Now, underneath the Sentra's new hood, there is a completely new powertrain this year. It's replacing the old 1.8 liter 4-cylinder. This is the same engine that's under the hood of the Rogue Sport, technically, slightly updated to give you a little bit more power. It's rated at 149 horsepower and 146 pound-feet of torque. It's now a 2-liter 4-cylinder, double overhead cam, but no direct injection. It's still port injection, but it does have about 20% more power versus the old 1.8, which had around 124 horsepower. Now, fuel economy has also been improved when it's matched with the new Xtronic CVT. There's no manual transmission available anymore, but the S and SV will get up to around 29 in the city, 39 on the highway. This SR with the 18-inch wheels drops it down slightly to 28 in the city, 37 on the highway. Still very good numbers. It only runs on regular gas, which keep in mind if you guys look at the Civic 1.5T, that does recommend to use premium gas. So the Sentra's powertrain is a little bit more simplified. It's not quite as high stress as the turbo engine in the Civic. Now, as this one sits, it weighs around 3,000 pounds, so the same weight as the previous generation. But with this new engine, the CVT, let's get out on the road and see how it performs. So as you can see, I'm back out here in Malibu with the always lovely and the always super technical Alex Dykes from Alex on Autos. I always enjoy seeing him in all these programs because we always end up on the same programs. And now we're driving the 2020 Sentra. And it's definitely been an interesting car. When Nissan first showed it at the LA Auto Show, I liked the way it looks. What did you think of the looks, Alex, when you first saw it?
I do like the look. I mean, this is, I think it's easier to love than some of the other modern cars that have come out recently.
Right. I mean, the Sentra was never an ugly car, but I thought the old one looked frumpy. It looked very narrow and tall, whereas this new one is now low and wide. So it's nice to see Nissan has basically carried on the family resemblance. I think it looks better than the Altima and Maxima, actually. I think it's a good looking car.
It's a good looking car. The family resemblance I'm kind of okay with.
Yeah.
But this design definitely looks better on all 4 sizes of Nissan than what we saw in the last generation Versa and Sentra.
Oh, absolutely. And the one thing that Nissan has stressed with this sporty new design, they're saying this is the sportiest Sentra that they've ever designed. And it rides on a new platform, which is not shared with the Altima, they said. It's got a new engine, although it's shared with the Rogue Sport. So we've got almost 150 horsepower. And it's got a updated CVT, which I know a lot of you hate CVTs, but if you look at the competitive set, Civic, Corolla, Elantra, Forte, all of them have CVTs. The only one that doesn't have a CVT is Jetta, and then Alex likes to include Ioniq, even though I don't think it's a competitor, but you couldn't get an Ioniq for the same money, and it gets way better MPG.
And even though we don't have a CVT in the Ioniq, we do have a dual clutch transmission, and a hybrid, so still not going to be your stepped automatic that people want.
So basically, quit about CVTs because everything has a CVT in this segment. It's what makes sense as a CVT. And to be honest, Nissan has been doing CVTs for quite a while. This one here actually has a sport mode. When you push the little button down here, it puts into a sport mode. And then when you put your foot down, it's a little gutless. Gutless here. Actually, it felt better when we were not going on this higher elevation part, because remember, naturally aspirated engine. The old Sentra was lethargic. It took like over 10 seconds to get to 60. So this one feels more like 8.5, maybe 9 seconds. It's still not the quickest.
The average.
No, I mean, Civic will smoke this car, but it's very comparable to Corolla, Elantra, and Forte, and Jetta. Even though the Jetta has a turbo 1.4 with an 8-speed auto, it's very comparable. Now, the one thing about the Sentra that's really improved is the handling. You can feel this car has much stiffer chassis. And Alex hasn't driven it yet, so he'll be driving it on our way back down the mountain. The steering also is much improved, although it feels artificially heavy, which I don't love. I just drove a 2020 Civic hatchback over the weekend before I drove this car, so I've been able to kind of reset my mind on the standard of driving dynamics. And the Honda definitely has it. The Nissan's not far behind. If you guys have driven the Corolla sedan, the new one, this is very similar to that. So Nissan's done a really good job with making this car a lot sportier, which is good because it's a great basis for the return of a Nismo or an SER, although we asked at the media program.
They said Wednesday.
Yeah, they're just like, at this time, the standard PR answer, we can't give you an answer if there's going to be a performance version again. But there's room in the lineup for one. I would love to see them bring back that 1.6 turbo with, 200 horsepower and no manual. No manual anymore, so.
Nobody buys a manual, so no manual.
Yes, nobody buys a manual, but I do want to try just doing a quick acceleration run. We'll let this truck go a little bit further. It's in sport mode right now, and we'll just floor it.
Yeah, feels like your average compact car.
Yes.
I would remind myself, I have to remind myself frequently here that when thinking about the Civic, it's important to remember this is a lot less expensive. So this is more similar to Civic Sedan's base engine, which is about the same kind of power. And Nissan does keep reminding us that. I have to keep reminding myself that because I love the 1.5 turbo in the Civic.
Yeah.
And if I were going to spend my own money in this segment, it would probably be either the Civic for the driving feel and acceleration performance, etc., or something like the Ioniq for the fuel economy.
Yeah.
But this is kind of not either.
Yeah, it's definitely going to remind a lot of people that this is just a commuter car. It looks good on the outside, but this is just going to get you to point A to point B. It's going to get excellent gas mileage. I mean, actually, I haven't really been trying. It's been getting, the trip computer says almost 27 mpg, so not bad. I mean, I imagine you could probably get closer to 40 if you'd like. The ride quality I'm noticing in this new one is definitely more firm.
It is definitely more firm than I suspected.
And Nissan said that compared to the Chinese version, what is it called? The
Sylphy.
Sylphy, okay, interesting.
It's known as the Sylphy, the Sunny, and the Sentra.
Okay, yeah.
I love S's.
Very interesting name, but I'm glad it's called Sentra here because I don't think that name could work here. But that Chinese version is tuned way more for comfort. This has been tuned for sportier. The SR is given its own unique suspension tuning. It's got the Nissan Safety Shield 360 as standard, but adaptive cruise control is still optional. You can get that as standard on Corolla and Civic now. So Nissan makes you go up to the SV trim, which isn't really that big of a jump. But I will say that compared to the Civic, this infotainment system is way better. Like, I like the way it looks.
It's definitely smoother.
Yeah, it's way better looking screen. It's a larger screen because Civic still makes do with that 7-inch display with the old Honda Link, which is just slow. It's horrible. But you get Android Auto and CarPlay when you guys go for the 8-inch screen. So there's a lot of tech in this car. The seats are also really comfortable. I like these zero gravity memory foam seats. I think they are soft, whereas most vehicles in the segment have hard seats.
But this passenger seat is not as adjustable as yours.
Not.
And it feels like I'm sitting very high in the car. It feels like I'm towering over here.
Yes, Mr. 6'1" Alex over here. See, I don't mind that because I'm short. I usually sit a little higher, but yes, I can see why.
Down.
Well, the thing is, though, is most vehicles in the segment only have a 4-way seat on the passenger side.
Yes,
so it's
and
kind
this does have a 4-way seat.
Right, it's kind of the norm. I do have a 6-way on this seat here, on this side here, but no memory seats. I have 2-way lumbar. So
2-zone climate control.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the overall interior design, you said, reminds you of the Stinger. I agree. The circular vents. Nissan says it's GTR inspired, which I was like, okay.
I'm getting more Stinger than GTR.
Yeah, I mean, but the Stinger,
the pop-up screen, the 3 little wheels there,
right.
And the D-shaped steering wheel, it's like very Stinger there.
I mean, that's not a bad car to copy.
Oh, no,
we all love the Stinger.
Thing. Yeah,
we all love the Stinger. I mean, actually, this gives me more of a Stinger vibe than the Forte, the Kia Forte.
That's true. And the Forte is supposed to be Stinger inspired.
Yes.
Go figure.
Great. So, foot to the floor here. Yeah, the CVT I am noticing mimics shifts when you start pushing it.
Pulse quickening CVT.
Oh, goodness.
Actually, this is not bad, really.
It's not bad, but you really feel a naturally aspirated engine's lack of torque at these.
The grip feels better than I had expected.
Yeah, it actually is quite engaging to drive. So no longer is the Sentra a completely unmemorable driving experience, at least handling wise.
And I have to say the same thing goes for the Versa and the Ultima in this generation. They both really improved a lot more than I had expected.
Yeah, I mean,
although Camry and Corolla really did too. So this is really an improving segment.
Well, the thing is now that people buy sedans because they want a sedan, like automakers are making them much sportier to look at, much sportier to drive, and it's nice to see that. But because the thing is, the Mazda 3's always been the benchmark in this class, and it got a twist beam or semi-independent rear at the back this year.
And I have to say I was a little bit disappointed in the Mazda 3. Everybody else got so much better that I'd expected Mazda 3 to leapfrog, and it didn't. It sort of stayed.
It stayed the same. And I have to say, the Sentra now, it has an independent rear suspension. It's got this new electric power steering system.
You can definitely feel it. The rear end is not getting upset over. I mean, that's a pretty road back there.
And these 18-inch wheels, they offer a good amount of grip. This is actually the same size wheel and tire package on the Nismo. So even though we don't have a Nismo yet.
How wide are these?
These are 215s, 45s, 18s. Yeah, these are
just pretty light though, so that helps.
Yeah, you do feel that this is like around 3,000 pounds car. I mean, there is room for a turbo Nismo version. Like, come on, Nissan, give it to us. Like, we want that Nismo version because the new Sentra drives surprisingly well. So after spending the day driving the all-new 8th generation Sentra, it's pretty easy to see that Nissan has made this car a lot sleeker and a lot sportier to drive. And after spending the day driving it around these curvy back roads, I'm actually relatively impressed. The Sentra's stodgy rental car image and just uninspiring driving dynamics have been replaced with a relatively sleek sedan that handles well, that accelerates decently well. The engine is much smoother this year, and it also has a great CVT that is very responsive. And that's going to make a lot of people happy because the Sentra is still a very strong value. When it goes on sale at the end of January, this car will start at around $19,090. That's only $400 more versus the previous generation when you optioned in the CVT. Remember, the old one had a 6-speed manual, which made it a little bit cheaper. When you factor in the fact that this has more safety tech features, more horsepower, a much more refined drive, for $400 more, it's still a steal. Now, most of you are probably going to upgrade to the SV trim that gives you, the upgraded features like the intelligent access key, the upgraded infotainment system, and the intelligent adaptive cruise control. That's going to cost you around $21,000. This SR trim is the fully loaded version, the sport-oriented model as well. Starts at around $23,000. Now, when you add in the premium package for $2,000, the destination charge, this one here is a little over 25 grand. Now, 25 grand is a steal for something like this that's fully loaded because you do have most of the tech features that I've tested in all of its competitors, but unlike the Civic and Corolla, the Sentra comes out to be about a couple $1,000s less expensive, and you basically have the same kind of refinement and feel, and you have more interior space than some of the competitors as well. So the Sentra is definitely still a very strong competitor, and I love what Nissan has done to this vehicle. So if you're in the market for a new compact car, this one should definitely make it to your short list. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2020 Nissan Sentra. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.